All right, continuing where we left off, we're going to talk about the portion of the adrenal gland. So this adrenal cortex is really important. It synthesizes lots of different hormones, many of which are corticosteroids. It's a little bit yellow in color. It has lots of lipids within the cells, right? Because steroids are a type of lipid. And there are three different regions. So the capsule is the outside. That's not really one of the three regions, but it's going to be the outer area. The part right under the capsule, most superficial, is the zona glomerulosa, or the ZG layer. And this part is going to be producing mineralocorticoids. The next one, or the ZF, is the zona fasciculata. And this zona fasciculata is going to be important for producing glucocorticoids. And then this last one, the zona reticularis here, it sits right on top of the adrenal medulla, is going to be important for the gonadocorticoids. So we're going to talk more about those different types of hormones in lecture. So moving on to the pancreas. The pancreas is going to be this sort of tan, floppy looking organ over here. It's going to sit behind the stomach, between the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine, and the spleen. We'll learn more about these organs in later sections of 169. The pancreas is cool because it has both endocrine and exocrine functions. So if we recall, exocrine glands are glands that secrete things via ducts. And so the exocrine function of the pancreas is going to be to secrete digestive enzymes into the small intestine. And the acini cells, which are going to be these guys, these darker ones here, are going to make those digestive enzymes and secrete them into the duodenum. But the pancreas also has an endocrine function. And this endocrine function is going to be performed by these pancreatic islet cells, or the islets of Langerhans. And this is going to be, because it's endocrine, the glands are going to release these directly into the blood. So these pancreatic islets, as we said, the islets of Langerhans, contain clusters of endocrine cells. We have two different types of endocrine cells here. These guys here are the alpha cells. They're a little bit smaller, a little bit pinker colored in this drawing, and then the beta cells are a little bit more larger and greener colored. The alpha cells secrete glucagon, where the beta cells secrete insulin, and they kind of have opposite effects on blood sugar. There are also delta cells and F cells, but we're going to focus mostly on the alpha and beta cells. So this is a picture in APR of the pancreas and just different parts of the pancreas, but this whole thing really is the pancreas. The pineal gland is a small and unpaired body in the epithalamus of the diencephalon. So we did talk about this in chapter 13. The pineal gland is this guy right over here. It secretes melatonin at night. And once again, it's controlled by the hypothalamus. Melatonin causes drowsiness, and so it regulates our sleep-wake cycles, or circadian rhythms, and it has effects on mood. Melatonin also influences GnRH secretion, and that has some poorly understood effects on reprophysiology, which we're not going to go into in this chapter. But here is the pineal gland. So we said the pituitary gland is down here. The pineal gland is up sort of in the back part, the more posterior part of the brain. We mentioned the parathyroid glands. So, sorry, I'll have to move that down on the PowerPoint. But the parathyroid glands are these small little islands of cells in the back of the thyroid gland. So this is going to be sort of the posterior surface of the thyroid gland. There are usually between 2 and 6 of them. So 4 is a pretty common number of them. They contain two different types of cells, the chief cells and oxyphil cells. The chief or principal cells make the parathyroid hormone, or PTH. And if you guys remember from chapter 7, we talked about parathyroid hormone and its role in calcium regulation, right? It helps increase blood calcium, helps liberate it from the bone by stimulating those osteoclasts. It also decreases its loss in urine. So we can see here, there's the thyroid and the parathyroid glands are going to be sort of on the back part. I have a better picture of that for you guys right now. There are some structures that also have an endocrine function, even if the whole gland isn't necessarily endocrine itself. So the thymus is one of them. The thymus is this guy that sits right here on sort of the base of the heart, or the anterior top of the heart. It has epithelial cells that secrete thymic hormones. The thymus is actually going to be pretty large in childhood, but it shrinks down during adulthood. And the thymus is important because it's a maturation site for T lymphocyte white blood cells. And we'll talk a lot more about that in the lymphatic system. So the thymus is going to be found sort of up here at the top of the heart. As I said, it's bigger in younger individuals. And then finally, we're going to talk a little tiny bit about the ovaries and the testes. They also have an endocrine function, but we're talking more about them in the reproductive unit. They secrete the sex hormones. So in this picture, we can see this is the female, this is the uterus coming around the fallopian tubes. Those are the ovaries. And then this is the male right here. We've got, this is the scrotum, and this is the testes right here. We've got the vas deferens going up. All right, so that's all for our endocrine pre-lab, or lab for you guys that have missed lab. But I will see you guys in the endocrine lecture. Have a good day.